The Kenise and Marc Show. The Kenise and Marc Show. Make sure you tune into the Kenise and Marc Show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Kenise and Marc Show. My name is Kenise.
I am Mark.
And we want to welcome you guys back to our show. No, it's like like a Meghan Markle type of like wave.
Like a Mindy.
I
don't know, you were too young for that.
I've never seen this show. What show again? I don't think they heard you.
Mark and Mindy.
Was that when Mark? What was his name?
What's his name?
Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Robin Williams was very, very young, and
Yeah.
he committed suicide. You need to watch one of our other shows about I want to kill myself.
I didn't even,
Yeah,
think
he
about
committed
that.
suicide.
Right.
Yeah. So what was that show about? He was
He was like an alien. Yeah.
Were they boyfriend and girlfriend in
Right.
there?
Yeah, I never really watched it. It was,
I never watched
But he was funny though, so every now and then I would tune in. Just, he's just a funny guy.
it. He was very funny. Well, what a great transition into our topic for today. We're going to talk today about my teenager wants to date. So, this is Mark's show because he has had teenagers, and I don't have a teenager. I have an 8-year-old, and she's not allowed to date ever.
But the interesting thing about my kids, they didn't do a lot of dating in their teenage years.
But did they want to date?
If they did, I don't think a date. They probably would want to just hang out with somebody. I mean, my kids are so into music and church. Not saying they're perfect because no one's perfect, but they were just so in tune to what they were doing. My daughter loved to dance and into her fashion, and that just carried over into their adult life. So
okay.
I can't speak a whole lot on that.
Okay.
My teenage when they were teenagers, they just didn't. That just wasn't their thing.
Well, let's talk about it from the point of view where if you do have a teenager or somebody in your church, comes and says, my child wants to date. What's the appropriate age do you think that a teen should or can start having a little boyfriend or girlfriend?
See, now I'm feeling old. It's hard to say because it depends on the character of that teenager.
Child. Right, very good.
How they were raised, how they were brought up. Let's face it, things that we encountered when we were teenagers is so different now.
Yes.
But the teenagers that they face now, they're just so exposed to so much.
Yeah.
So you have to really, we have a tendency to hey Johnny, and I'll see you later. Just not really paying attention to what they're doing.
Right.
So to me it depends. You can't really come up with a certain age. It depends on how they were raised. Where's their head. Guys are different than the girls.
Right.
With the young ladies, we're kind of like a little overprotective probably.
Yes.
So the young ladies have to really have their heads on. Have to know who's really into them or who just wants them for their body.
Right.
And all that. So
yeah, they always want to have to deal with that. I don't know what you're talking about.
You finished now? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Come on back now.
Sorry. My parents never allowed us to date. So it wasn't kind of like part of my upbringing that we were allowed to date. So, you couldn't even ask to date. They didn't even want to hear anything about boyfriend or girlfriend.
Yeah.
It was just like the way they were raised. It's like, you wait till a certain age, like in your 18, 19, 20, and then, the Holy Spirit would tell you this is the man for you or this is the woman for you. And, once it's confirmed by a leader in the church or a pastor in the church, you have to come to counseling, you have to and there's protection all the way through where when my dad and mom were dating, courting, because my dad had asked my grandmother for my mom's hand in marriage. So when he had to come to the house, that was their date. And my mom said he would read, he would be reading a he would pick up the newspaper and she's reading a magazine and they're on the veranda. That was their date because it was in the house. Imagine you're on a date.
That is so boring. Oh
I
my
know.
Lord.
But your parents never told you about how they dated?
No, that's a good question.
You should ask
all I
them.
know is that as a kid, I used to look through their wedding pictures. I had this big old gigantic wedding album.
Yeah.
But see, I know. Well, my parents met at our home church. They
Okay.
were teenagers,
Mhm.
and they worked very closely together. So I guess that was their dating. Being
Yeah.
in church,
Right.
and
Right.
then eventually,
You're gonna
they
see each
came-
other in church.
right?
Yeah.
Eventually, they got married, and rest is history. But
Right.
I don't recall them ever speaking about dating per se.
Right. Right.
Their experiences were at the church.
Right.
And they both. My dad was the choir director. My mom was the choir president. She plays piano, classical piano. My dad plays piano and organ. So I think those are some of the. Those are things they were able to relate to. So,
Right.
but in
Yeah.
terms of dating, I don't know.
The dating was playing the piano.
Yeah,
You played
yeah.
the organ, I played the piano. That was us coming together. So we're saying that really as parents, you need to decide how mature your son or daughter is in order
Exactly.
for them to, because I also feel that if you don't allow them, because if their friends are seeing, then they want to sneak out and they start doing things behind your back. And again, we're talking about relationships because our show is about relationships and building that bond with your child. So when we come back from commercial break, we're going to talk about a little bit more about building that relationship with your son and daughter and able to trust them when they're dating.
Yes.
The Kenise and Marc Show. The Kenise and Marc Show. Make sure you tune into the Kenise and Marc Show. The Kenise and Marc Show. The Kenise and Marc Show. Make sure you tune into the Kenise and Marc Show.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Kenise and Marc Show. Today we're covering My Teenager Wants to Date. We were talking earlier before the commercial about our parents dating. How did you go about dating? Did you have to ask permission, Mark?
It's a teenager.
Yeah, when you were a teenager. You were once a teenager.
One
I know
time,
it
once
was when
upon a
the
time.
dinosaurs were around. But
Again, I didn't do too much. Most of my friends as a teenager were in Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx. I was in Long Island, so I didn't have no license, so I wasn't getting on any train. So I was
Yeah.
like, I'll see y'all at church. But I think the probably the most serious date I had was in my senior year of high school. This young lady that I dated, and we went to the prom. But we were already at school, and so like, she was on the cheerleading squad. I was on the
ooh,
basketball
a
team.
cheerleader.
Yeah, cheerleader. So
Were you a football player?
no, basketball.
Oh, basketball. Oh, I didn't know you played basketball.
Yeah, all 4 years.
And that's why you're into basketball.
Yeah, I
You
love
learned
it.
something new.
So I did that. So my parents knew about her.
Yeah.
And I met her mother and her sister. And that was basically really the only time. And again, I was my senior year, so
But
I was
you guys
18
didn't-
years old.
You guys didn't go out alone. You guys did stuff together.
We
in
did, I
church.
think, one or two. No, well, this young lady wasn't in church.
Okay.
So I only knew her from school, and we went out maybe twice.
Okay.
I mean, I just mostly saw her at school, and we went to the prom together.
Yeah.
And I think that was it. I think one time we hung out somewhere around Christmas or after Christmas. I know it was coming up upon New Year's Day.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, that's my life was pretty simple. Same thing with my sister. She didn't really date.
Date, right.
Isn't
that strange? Because I wasn't allowed to date. I wasn't even allowed to take a prom date. But then my sister was able to have a date. In addition, she didn't even go with a huge group. I have to go with 400 other people in my limo to the prom. She was able, my dad rented a Jaguar for her at her prom date. And after the prom, they were able to go to the city to hang out.
Well, see, you would have vessel. You would have chosen vessel to kind of. You would have scapegoat.
I would never
Let's
put my
experiment
child
on
through that.
Kenise.
But I will tell you, back to, again, we said earlier, you want to make sure that your child is mature enough, son or daughter, to date. They should also be chaperoned, I feel, to a certain level. So whether it's you put certain constraints. So if it's 16-year-old, 17-year-old, or even 15-year-old, if you have a son or a daughter, they want to hang out with each other, take them to the mall. You drop them off and say, I'm going to be back. I'm not taking them to a dark area where there's like a Motel 6 around here. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm like, you know, chances are they're around other people, so chances of them being tempted to do other things. But I will tell you a story. I do believe in raising my daughter, and I haven't been faced yet with dating and stuff yet. But I want that open relationship with my daughter starting now, where I'm telling her, you know, Avia, we don't keep any secrets. Whenever you like whenever you think a boy's cute, because right now she thinks boys have cooties, you know, like, yeah, they're so gross. But I keep telling her all of these things, you know, tell mommy if you think, you know, Giovanni is cute, or if you think this is cute, or, oh no, mommy, oh no. So I'm trying to build that up now, because when I was younger, again, my parents were strict, didn't allow us to date, but I did like a guy. He drove, so he came out, because I live in Long Island, still live in Long Island. But he came to Long Island, and he was like, let's go to an Applebee's. So I picked an Applebee's far away from my home. We pulled up into the parking lot, and we're just about to get out of the car, so we're talking. And do you know who pulled up in the parking lot right next to me?
Your parents?
My mother and my sister pulled up into the same Applebee's.
Was that by coincidence or?
Coincidence. They were at the mall, so we went to the Applebee's by the mall, which is about 15 minutes from my house, and there's a closer Applebee's. I did not know that my mom and my sister were at the mall. I did not know that they were chose to eat at the Applebee's. So imagine talking to like your boo, you know, you're like, oh, you're looking all cute, and I'm like, oh, cute. And then I looked over and I'm like, oh my God. Of course, my mother got out of the car, came to the car, knocked on the window. I mean, I literally I had to go into the car, and I don't know what choice words she told him, and was like, it was bad. It was bad.
Really? So there was no date? So wait, he went home after that?
Yeah, I don't know. Yes, if he made it home, he was probably crying all the way home with the choice words that my mother told him.
Why would she do that?
She felt like I snuck, because I did it secretly.
But that was
never
on
told
him. That's on you. Why did he get blown?
I guess maybe he got blown up because I got blown. Like, she blew me away. But I think she blew up on him because it was like, why would you even want to condone this? Like, it's your fault too. It's 50% your fault. It's 50% Kenise's fault.
But he doesn't know what you share with your mother, what you didn't.
Oh, he knew it was, like, my parents didn't know we were going out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he knew that. So the long story short, don't do things behind your parents' back because they'll pull up right by you. Whatever I feel is done in the dark will eventually come to light. So we feel, I think together, that the mature child, you need to know if they're able to handle dating or hanging out. I don't really think it's dating nowadays.
I think the biggest date I had was probably my prom. And I was really, and my parents were good with, they knew the whole schedule. I was going to the prom. After the prom, we were coming back to change clothes, and we were gonna hang out at the beach all night.
That's nice.
And I didn't get home till like 11 o'clock the next day.
Oh wow.
You know.
What were you doing at the beach until?
Well, there were 3 of us couples.
Okay.
You know, so we hung together the whole night at the prom, and then we came to my house, changed, and then we went to, and I guess maybe the trade-off was that I was supposed to drive my parents' car to the prom, and the beginning of the week, the car broke down, and the mechanic said it wasn't going to be ready. If it was going to be ready, it would be ready on the day of the prom. So guess what? The day of the prom, it wasn't ready. They gave us this piece of junk car. I mean, and it was too late. It was too late to make any other arrangements. I was so embarrassed. So everybody met at my house. It was another couple that rode with me. We all got in the car, and I'm driving down the street, and I see all my friends outside. I can see them in the rearview mirror. Look at that car. So I was like totally humiliated. I don't remember. It was like just so old, and it was like, look, then you know the problems. You're pulling it with limousines. If you are driving, you're driving a
nice
something.
Car. Yeah. Right.
This was so old, and I was like, when I went to go get our car, and the mechanic said it wasn't ready, but I'll give you the keys you can use this car and bring it back. I was like, you don't have anything else. He said it's all that's available. Everybody else is coming to pick their car up.
Right.
So it was either that or I walk. I was so embarrassed, but the point is, I think that was a trade-off. My parents felt so bad.
Aww.
So
they allowed
like,
you
yeah,
to
just go ahead.
out.
Even though they knew the plans anyway, but they didn't make any fuss about it. So I think my biggest date was just going to the prom, coming back at about 11:30, changing clothes, went to the beach, and we were at Jones Beach. for the really all night.
That's
Just
really
just looking at the stars and
Sure. In each other's eyes.
yeah, all of that. Walking around, and I guess it helped. Our parents didn't mind because we were up with other people.
Yeah, right,
so.
of course. So I think that's part of like the good dating.
And there was no cell phones.
No cell phones.
So no pages.
No pages.
I mean, you could, yeah. When I was dating, none of that stuff was out. You wanna get you laugh? It's alright. It's okay. You can laugh. She wasn't crack up.
I didn't say anything.
Your face said it all. It was like, man, you are really old. No cell phones, no pages. Yeah, we had to use pay phones.
Oh God, Jesus.
A dime.
A dime, right? or collect.
But eventually it went up to a quarter.
You gotta call collect though. I remember calling collect on the payphone in Manhattan.
Really?
My parents collect, yeah. I didn't have a cell phone yet.
Okay.
So I think for the dating point, as we close out the show, is that we want to build relationships with our kids.
Yeah.
You want to talk to them because otherwise they'll sneak out. They'll do things underhandedly now between the internet, between their cell phones, and it's a lot of stuff can happen on the DL that you don't know. And as parents, it's so important that we have that bond and that relationship with our child so they can trust you.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not scared to tell you.
Right.
I like this person. Can I go hang out? And sometimes it's just best for under your watch as parents. It's better they tell you so that rather than them sneaking out. That's the worst thing. I don't want my daughter sneaking out like I did. And then I'm going to catch her because I'll be doing some crazy stuff there. I'll be like, what? Why would you do that? Applebee's with this man?
Oh, please. Kenise, she doesn't yell at her daughter.
I don't. Anyway, guys, so thank you so much for joining us today for our episode, My Child, or Son and Daughter Want to Date. Please join us on the next episode. Check out our YouTube video and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. Mark, any last words?
Watch your kids.
Watch your kids. All right. Thank you for joining the Kenise and Marc Show. I'm Kenise.
I'm Mark.
Love y'all.